I'm Sonya, a personal brand and style coach. My journey began in the corporate world and through lived experiences has led me where I am today. I've walked in those uncomfortable shoes, faced the same challenges and questioned my path to professional success while simultaneously navigating my personal style journey and the challenges that each decade brings. I wholeheartedly believe in the fusion of personal brand and style strategy. My mission here is to provide you with practical, actionable strategies and lived experiences to help you unlock your next level of success through the power of personal brand and style. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Style and Strategy podcast. So today is a little bit more around the strategy piece, and specifically, let's chat around your personal brand. So if you've listened to the podcast for a little while, you know that I'm really passionate about personal brand. And I still get the question today around, so you only work with entrepreneurs or small business owners, etc. And I guess the answer to that is no. And the reason why I really wanted to chat around it today is because it comes back to everyone in this day and age has a personal brand, and yet we probably don't think about it quite like that. And it's really the terminology that can throw us off a little bit. So if I had to ask you the question, and if you had to ponder for a little bit and think about, what are your brand values as an individual? And for those of you that are, working your way up the career ladder or in a very stable career, etc., I would want you to spend a little bit of time, right? And have a real think about, what are your brand values and what does that actually mean? So let's take a step back here. So what is a brand value? What does that even mean? And the way I want you to start to think about this is twofold. So I want you to break it up to think about, what is it that you really love about the work that you do as a starting point? So, someone might say, I really love the achievement that I get when I deliver something and I extend that out and I get feedback on that. It might be that you've got this level of independence in the way that you deliver things. Or it could be that you've got a level of responsibility that is really important to you. So that's just kind of to name a few. So I want you to think about, well, why do you love what you do? And maybe rate it on a scale to 1 to 5 to make it a little bit easier, and sort of say, well, between 0 to 5, based on these values, how important are they to me? Then I want you to start to think about, what type of activities do you enjoy? And when you think about activities, I'm not talking about necessarily I like abseiling or rock climbing or things like that. It's much more around the activities you do relating to your work or tasks or things like that. So, for example, in a work context, it could be you love decision making. You love abstract kind of tasks. You love public contact. You might love risk-taking or working more on the strategic side of things. I think that starts to give you then a little bit of picture or colour around. So what are some of those, what do you love to do, your intrinsic values, versus what do you love to do at work that really ticks those boxes? And then I want you to think about things like, what is really important to you? And you're going to be ranking these 1 to 5 again, very much like your environment. So it's got to be autonomous. It's got to be a really nice environment to work in. Maybe you're working from home and you have to pop into the office a few days a week. Maybe it's got to pay well, whether that's you're in business or whether that's you kind of personally. And then I want you to think about your relationship bucket as well. So what sort of interactions are really important to you from a relationship side of things? Is it loyalty, humor, seriousness, competitive? What are some of those areas around that? And then, I want you to think about, well, what attribute of work or the things that you do is, again, really adds to your day to day as well. And what really connects you to a bigger meaning. And so by going through these types of questions, you start to identify what your brand, as in your personal brand, values are and what is important to you. You might have previously gone through exercises like strength finders and things like that to help flesh that out a little bit more. But this is a really simple way to do that. So then your next question is likely going to be, well, I've got these brand values that I've come up with, and what's the so what around that? And why it's important for you to identify that is because we don't often spend a lot of time thinking about these and then thinking about where we are in our current role and where we want to kind of get to. Because when you can sit down and go, well, this is what I really want, you're then easily able to marry back to where you are today and seeing if there is a gap or if there's a potential need for some change or, like a change in direction, really. Now, this again starts to show insights around your style. And I know you're probably thinking, how is that even possible? Well, from those brand values, some key attributes will start to come out. And some of those you will innately know. You might be much more outgoing and you prefer that outgoing environment where that might actually link to you really enjoying outfits that have a little bit more punch to them, a little bit more statement to them. And actually, when you are put into an environment where you can't express that side of you, the lights go out. You're put into a suit, a navy suit, which might be beautiful, but again, those lights go out. And that real spark of who you innately are is toned down a level. So you know that I talk about this theory that I've got as part of my framework, which is this ladder of elevation. Well, the same applies if you don't have a clear picture of what your brand is, your values, and how that comes to light and what that is on the inside, what really lights you up. And then how that plays on the outside with the clothes that you actually put on. And it suddenly becomes these two spheres of better understanding. Well, if I enjoy these certain things, if I then go and pick something that doesn't allow the values that are important to me to shine, then I'm never going to really perform at my best. And so if you start to think about that, what I love to see clients when they start to consider it is they start to see in their wardrobe that, hold on, this is why I no longer feel like the pieces in my wardrobe suit who I am today, because they have evolved in their style and who they are. Many times, I have clients saying, but I know my style. I did that maybe 5-10 years ago, but they haven't revisited that in a much broader context. And it's not until they do that realization starts to set to say, hang on, Now I get it. Now I get why, even though those pieces were really nice and they still look brand new, don't work for me any longer, because I'm not that person, and my values and a whole lot of attributes associated with that have now shifted. So when you're thinking about your personal brand, obviously that values component is one. The second one being your style around that and how those two really marry together. But then you're also starting to think through, well, where am I at? And from a career perspective, does it actually tick those boxes? And I touched on that slightly before. Now, where it doesn't, it gives you a real opportunity to sit down and start to work through, well, if I align these two pieces, I'm going to feel better and I'm going to be representing to the world who I am today or who I want to be in the future. But then what steps do I now need to take in order to feel that confidence that I'm now heading in that right direction around my career, and how am I putting that out there? And for some, that might be I need to maybe network more and start to investigate other opportunities. For others, it might be I actually need to vocalize a little bit more where I want to go and what direction I want to head in, which you may not have in the past. And so you might be thinking again, well, hold on, if I'm doing that, what has that got to do with the brand and the style? And that fundamentally has everything to do with that, because once you feel like you're congruent and aligned in those two pieces, to go have those conversations, to go to that networking event and actually present as who you are and be clear about the direction that you want to go in, becomes so much simpler. So if this is something that really sparks your interest and you'd like to sit down and have a look at it in a little bit more detail, specifically on the brand side, I do have a free guide that will take you through some of those value-based questions to help you in that journey and starting to craft that from a brand side of things. Alternatively, if you'd prefer to bounce off and have a little bit of a chat on maybe how I can help you through that journey, then please feel free to reach out and book in a call and we can have a little chat around that. Well, I hope you've gained a little bit of insight around your brand and maybe got your mind thinking a little bit more about how you can start to take some steps towards refining your personal brand. Thank you so much for being part of this inspiring episode. If you found value in today's discussion, please don't keep it a secret. Share it with a friend on social media, tag me at Your Style Collective, and leave a review. Your support means the world. Join me again next week for another empowering episode of Style and Strategy, the Leadership Series. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, you're already taking that first step towards your transformation journey. See you next time.